Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Would You Read It Challenge video for January 2023. And I will be taking a look at the 2019 BookTube Prize Octafinals list, Group D. So that's a bit of a mouthful. The Would You Read It Challenge was a tag started by Et2 Brody, and I've been co-opting it for the last year or so. And in this rendition, I am challenging you to think about books that were in consideration for the BookTube Prize. The BookTube Prize is still ongoing. It was started by Robert at Barter Hordes. The intention is for judges around the literary bookdernet to assess the best in U.S. published fiction and nonfiction published the previous year. It started in 2019, which was the only year when I wasn't an official judge. And I thought it would be fun to take a look back at the books. In many cases, including in this video, I haven't read any of these books, but it's a teaser to see if they could catch my fancy. Anyway, I'll link to BookTube Prize information down below. The Octafinals are the beginning of the long list, and then these lists are whittled down to winners through judging. So the purpose of the tag originally was just to read the first sentence of a book and ask your audience, would you be interested in continuing? I'm going for more the first paragraph or two, getting a little bit more of a feel. So each ballot has 6 titles on it. In 2019, they were only judging fiction. So there's 6 fiction titles here, all published in 2018. I will read the first paragraph or so and then share the titles and share my thoughts. And I will also link to my playlist where I've done these videos for other BookTube Prize ballots and so forth down below. So anyway, starting with book number 1. First, there was nothing. Then, there was everything. Then, in a park above a western city after dusk, the air is raining messages. A woman sits on the ground, leaning against a pine. Its back presses hard against her back, as hard as life. Its needles scent the air as a force hums in the heart of the wood. Her ears tune down to the lowest frequencies. The tree is saying things, in words, before words. It says, "Sun and water are questions endlessly worth answering." And that was from The Overstory by Richard Powers. Book 2. At first, nothing was unusual. I was on the phone with my sister. She sat by the desk by the window in her rented room in Okinawa. The sun shone through the curtain, casting brown highlights onto her long, dark hair. She asked me question after question, but I just mumbled one-word answers, impatient for the conversation to be over. But then, before my eyes, she crumbled into ashes. And that was from Rainbirds by Clarissa Goenawan. Book 3. The Last Wolf, Greenhampton, Massachusetts, April 1834. Spring snow, still porcelain bowls in the hollows of the earth. Blue hour, the outlines of pine trees and houses stood against a deepening sky. The wolfer gazed upon the lights of the town. For days he had traveled back to this place he had once known, but hadn't been near for half a life. From what he could see from the rise of the hill, he reckoned Greenhampton hadn't grown much in the years since he'd been gone. If anything, the houses were fewer. Men had been upping sticks and leaving, he'd heard tell. Men had left their homes and barns, abandoned their farms. Farms worked 3 generations. Fathers and grandfathers had cleared the rocky soil of New England, had felled trees and then hitched mules to tree stumps and heaved each stump loose, had sunk wells and built walls around their farms, each stone laid by hand, had protected their livestock from predators. None of these men were handing the land back to nature and heading west to the plains, where a man could stand in one spot and turn around and see nothing but open space in every direction, and underfoot, when he kicked a boot heel into the ground, soil black and rich. And that was from Happiness by Aminata Forna. Book 4. During the 1980s in California, a large number of Cambodian women went to their doctors with the same complaint. They could not see. Before fleeing their homeland, they had witnessed atrocities for which the Khmer Rouge, which had been in power from 1975 to 1979, was well known. Many of the women had been raped or tortured or otherwise brutalized. Most had seen family members murdered in front of them. One woman, who never again saw her husband or 3 children after soldiers came and took them away, said that she had lost her sight after having cried every day for 4 years. She was not the only one who had appeared to cry herself blind. Others suffered from blurred or partial vision, their eyes troubled by shadows and pains. And that was from The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. Book 5. I might have been 10, 11 years old, I cannot say for certain, when my first master died. No one grieved him. In the fields we hung our heads, keening, grieving for ourselves and the estate sale that must follow. He died very old. I saw him only at a distance, stooped thin, asleep over a shaded chair in the lawn, a blanket at his lap. I think now he was like a specimen preserved in the bottle. He had outlived a mad king, outlived the slave trade itself, had seen the fall of the French Empire and the rise of the British, and the dawn of the industrial age, and his usefulness, surely, had passed. On that last evening, I remember crouching on my bare hands in the stony dirt of Faith Plantation, and pressing a palm flat against Big Kit's calf, feeling the heat of her skin, baking up out of it the strength and the power of her, while the red sunlight settled in the cane all around us. Together, silent, we watched as the overseers shrouded the coffin from the great house. They slid it rasping into the straw of the wagon and, dropping the rail into place with a bang, rode rattling away. And that was from Washington Black by Essie Edugyan. And finally, Book 6, Roy. There are 2 kinds of people in the world, those who leave home and those who don't. I'm a proud member of the first category. My wife, Celestial, used to say I'm a country boy at the core, but I never cared for that designation. For one, I'm not from the country per se. Elo, Louisiana is a small town. When you hear country, you think raising crops, baling hay, and milking cows. Never in my life have I picked a single cotton boll, although my daddy did. I have never touched a horse, goat, or pig, nor have I any desire to. Celestial used to laugh, clarifying that she's not saying I'm a farmer, just country. She was from Atlanta, and there was a big case to be made that she's country too. But let her tell it, she's a Southern woman, not to be confused with a Southern belle. For some reason, Georgia Peach is all right with her, and it's all right with me, so there you have it. And that was from An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. Okay, so looking back, I remember hearing of all of these books. A lot of them won or were shortlisted for a lot of awards. I think the only one I haven't heard, that I don't remember anyway, is Rainbird, so that's completely new to me. I think I don't know, the description is a little more in the mystery thriller category than I like, and as much as the ending about a sister abruptly turning into ashes, I guess it's meant to compel you forward. That's the sort of external plots which, you know, you need sometimes, even in literary fiction, but it's not my bread and butter. That's not what I'm interested in, I don't know, human psychology more than what happened there. The one story that is on my list to be read is Happiness by Aminata Forna, which was the second place winner this year in the BookTube Prize. None of the others on this list made it to the finals, but I've been intrigued by Happiness since it won second place. Sooner or later, hopefully I'll read it. I have a long TBR, of course. I feel like this description, the only one like with a historical timestamp and everything, it was intriguing. I don't think on its own it necessarily would have moved me, but there's certainly a lot of great description in it. Otherwise, certainly another definite historical fiction is Washington Black, and it's describing, you know, life on a plantation after a master dies and the very real threats of, you know, families and friends among the slave population being dispersed and, you know, forced away from each other at an estate sale. So it obviously seems like a beginning to a story of a narrative of a man who grew up or started his life as a slave. I know An American Marriage is obviously about a marriage, and with Roy, we're just being introduced to the first member of the marriage, not getting too deep into it, just, you know, some quick sort of intro stuff there about, you know, their personalities or their, you know, relation to each other. So that was nice. And then there's The Friend, which I remember winning big, and seems to be about Cambodian culture and the trauma there. And that's promising. You know, obviously, you know, there's brutality that deserves to be learned about, but then also a very psychological look into what that brutal regime did to people. So that's an automatic intrigue for me. And yeah, I guess the final one is The Overstory by Richard Powers, which I remember being a tree book. And frankly, I don't feel like this beginning did much for me. It's a little too pie in the sky for my tastes. So there's that. So there we have it, my quick Would You Read It challenge thoughts about these 6 books, and I will leave the Goodreads links for all of them down below in case you would like to learn more information yourself. And that about covers it for me now. I'm grateful my camera still seems to be recording. In fact, we have been at very low battery this whole time, so I probably have little time left. But I will be back on this channel within the next couple of days to do my last Friday reads of the month in our obligatory fashion of wondering at how quickly time seems to pass. January's end seems to be on the horizon. And then in February, the 2023 BookTube Prize will begin. So I'm very excited about that because on February 1st, Robert will be emailing us the official long lists for this year, and those of us who got assignments for the Octafinals will get our assignments. So yeah, I'm very excited to see the new crop and to get some new reading done in fiction and nonfiction. So stay tuned because in February I will certainly be gushing about that. And I hope all of you who are BookTube Prize aficionados are also very excited for the start of a new season, and I'll be looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.